Class Placement Assessment. The Marching Academy has Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D. The top-ranked students will be placed in Class A, and the lower-ranked will be placed in Class D. The result of the horsepower measurement and the class placement evaluation result determines which class the students will belong to. Of particular importance is the class assignment evaluation. Class placement evaluation has a great meaning as it is a test that determines the class to be included during a semester. First of all, sleeping in a class and defeating demons is my top priority. Currently, all the first-year students of the Faculty of Magic are entering the Delphine Forest. That said, there is a high risk of meeting other students sooner or later. This means that there is a high possibility that the battle will occur immediately. This is the ripple effect brought about by the word survival, mentioned by the professor. Most students know that they will have to fight when they run into each other. Pew. Whoops. The sound of beating with magic can be heard from all directions. The battle royale has begun. In this situation, the smartest guys try to form a team. Then, you will be able to gain an advantageous position with a numerical advantage, and it will be easier to find the monograins that are the purpose of this test. However, there was no benevolent guy who would be on the team with me, who had an E-class magical power. It's a good thing if you get used to it. This one is for that little chicken owl. Oh, at least I can lean on Kaya, who thinks I'm strong. And not. There are too many variables. There is no guarantee that Kaya will always help me. There is a high risk that my bottom line will be exposed, and there is a possibility that I will be hit in the head as a risk factor. If so, I have only one option. It's here. Just to breathe. Here, a leafy tree. It looks good to hide. This is where I saw it yesterday. I took the magic bag out of my pants pocket. Magic pouch. A small pocket that can hold many items with magical power. Good portability. Rank. Tier 6. Tier 6 tier, which is a unit that measures the rarity of an item. Means that the lower the number, the rarer it is. He took a water bottle from his magic pouch and sprinkled water on the side of the tree. In addition, I made a crude ice staircase using the ice generation skill. I have high elemental synergy compared to other stats. The higher the elemental synergy, the greater the effect that appears when your elemental magic overlaps with other elements. Thanks to this, it is possible to create larger ice cubes than when using the ice generation skill normally. I barely managed to climb the tree. Stepping on the ice stairs, it's comfortable. Sitting on a tall branch and a bunch of leaves, leaning back against the tree. Removed the ice stairs by freezing the ice. This was the only way I had. The weakest person could use Jonver. What if, after being incapacitated like this, the other students wipe out all the mana grains? This one is for that little chicken owl. Okay, there is one blind spot in this placement assessment. Monograins are luminous substances. When it gets dark, it becomes easier to tell with the naked eye. For me, with low mana sensitivity, it would be more beneficial to search for mana grains later. I stayed still and focused on my hearing. Are there any popular characters approaching this way? After 20 minutes, the popularity was felt. Someone was coming this way. I reached out for a frozen slingshot with a handle attached to an inconspicuous spot around the tree. Slingshot. A plain slingshot made of wood and a solid rubber band. Durability is weak. Rank. Tier 9. The slingshot was fixed by putting a stone on a solid rubber band and freezing it while pulling the rubber band all the way. A total of 10 slingshots were installed. Each location was memorized. Freeze off. Beta. I loosened the ice that had fixed the rubber band of the slingshot. The ice became blue powder and flew away. The slingshot fired stones. Wiggle. Stones from the slingshot flew through the air and fell to the ground through the grass. What? A girl's surprise was hurt. She turned away from the stones through the grass, seeing what he was trying to fight. He seemed confident in his skills. There are now 9 slingshots left. Let's hold on. I wasn't bored because of the tension. Please, I just hope you can hold out on time. The sky was tinged with sunset. The magic sound that the students had cast suddenly disappeared. There was silence in the forest. The current time is 6:30 p.m. I was still alive, hiding in the tree. Shall we go down slowly now? But fortunately, the Jonver strategy was successful. All 10 slingshots were used. Everyone did their job well. After taking out the remaining water bottle from the magic bag and spraying it with water, he used the ice generation skill to create ice in a cascade. Again, it was difficult to control, so a fist-fighting staircase was created. I carefully climbed out of the tree, landed on the icy steps, and then descended. Oh, it felt like stepping on the ground after a long time. My legs were shaking from sitting in a tree for about 4 hours. The muscle pain I got in the gym yesterday is a bonus. After I massaged my leg, I dispelled the magic to get rid of the ice stairs. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now you have to move. Where are they? But I don't know where Ian and Luce will fight the demon. In the game, a story cutscene appears suddenly after surviving a class assignment evaluation. Well, this is the scene where Ian and Luce meet, so the location will change automatically. From now on, I had to find that place. Gradually, beyond the barrier, the sky darkens. I kept quiet as much as I could and proceeded forward cautiously. I'm looking for some mana grains as well. I robbed all my fortune for this class placement evaluation. If I couldn't earn enough gel here, I had no choice but to starve or get a loan from the bank to become a debtor. So it was also important to find the mana grains. Is it ruined? Mom, damn it. No mana grains could be seen. The students were robbed when it got dark. The hope that the remaining mana grains could be easily found was shattered horribly. This one is for that little chicken owl. Overlooked, this is the prestigious Marchant Academy. It was only natural that the students' mana sensitivity was excellent. Please, I also need some mana grains. It was in the middle of searching for the mana grains, because I was concentrating on the mana grains. I could not even recognize the sound of small footsteps approaching me. A woman's voice rang out in front of me. In an instant, my heart sank. I had my upper body bowed while looking for the mana grains, and I just stiffened. A drop of cold sweat ran down his cheek. What? Let's think about it. I still have magic tools left. If you fight using this, you can overcome a certain level of difference? Yeah. If the level of the guy in front of you right now is about 30 or 40, wouldn't it be worth a try? I slowly lifted my head and looked at the girl standing in front of me. Kaya Astrian. Elven, 90. Race, human. Attributes, wind, ice, risk, X. What should I say? Well, it's Kaya. How are you? Kaya's body and voice are both trembling. He looked very frightened. She is a freshman second in class. Even if I use all sorts of conspiracy techniques, it's impossible to defeat her. However, she currently regards me as a strong man who has reached the level of an archmage but is hiding his power. Let's think and act calmly. Using that awareness, you may be able to get out of here safely. Move. I was confident in my acting skills, so, as if revealing his true color, he narrowed his eyes and let out an atmospheric, cynical voice. He pretended not to tremble at all. Yes. 4. Kaya trembles and gets out of the way. Yep. You can just go ahead and do it. I started moving slowly. A feeling of relief came rushing in like a rush of water. Glad things didn't go wrong. Isaac-sama. Suddenly, Kaya called me. What is Isaac? I didn't know I would use such a burdensome title, but I thought it was because it was Kaya. Quickly harden your face again. I stopped walking and turned to Kaya with a cold expression. Well, it's still like a test. Why don't we get together and fight? No. Of course. To Isaac, who has reached the level of an archmage, I would be as funny as an ant under the ground. Still, I want to bump into you. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No, don't. Release your determined expression. I'd like to ask you for one. Isaac-sama, in case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No, don't deploy the magic circle. It's not unfolding right now. Come on, clean it up. Please. A demon will appear in the next 20 minutes. Suddenly, the test watch showed 6:40. I had to quickly find a place where the demons would appear, but now, Kaya's light green circle that was spread out in the air slowly rotated toward me. The figure of the second in command who is afraid of me, but wants to fight against a huge being in the country, and burns his will. I'm weak. My magical power is E-class. The lowest, he's the weakest in the faculty of magic. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No matter what I do, you can't win. Calm down for now. Let's calm down and think, how can I get out of this situation? What do I have to say to bring that guy back to the magic circle? I can't just honestly say that I'm the one in charge of demons. Even if you think about it a little bit, you can't even imagine how much of a headache it will be in the future. Then what I can do is what I can use to eat. This one is for that little chicken owl. One thing came to mind. I don't know if I'll succeed, but let's chat. Whoa. Start with a sigh. In case you have any questions, you can refer to ubmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No matter how you look at it. That magic circle looks dangerous, but she looked at Kaya with an expression that seemed as simplistic as possible. Kaya is looking at me with a questionable expression, as long as it's been like this. It's all or nothing. I crossed my arms and looked at the pale green magic circle that Kaya had spread out in the air, as if pathetic. With only that kind of magic, Kaya with wide-eyed eyes? What I just said must have scratched her heart. Just like that. It's just a waste of time now. I turned my back. I can feel a tremendous amount of life behind my back. Help me. I know you are a great person, but what you just said ignores the hours I've been working on in blood and sweat? I mean now? Yes. The Uter class stance changed. I felt like my life was gone. Perhaps Kaya was trying to figure out what I meant. Are you close to Sylphia? Sylphia. The fairy of the green blue. The name of a fairy who uses plant magic? How do you... Because I can feel the energy of Yggdrasil from you, even though I didn't look at it on purpose. I felt that Kaya was very surprised. The energy of Yggdrasil? What is that? I've just been I can't even find mana grains. How do you feel? Anyway. Kaya is friendly with Sylphia, a fairy of Huarokshang. It is her own secret that no one can find out. In addition, she wears the seed of Yggdrasil she received from Sylphia as a necklace and hangs it around her neck. You have to keep the seeds in your body at all times to be able to respond to plant mana. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the surface, they just look like ordinary seeds. Mana is condensed, not emitting, so it is difficult to detect mana. When she enters her second year, she becomes fully responsive to plant mana. Then, using Yggdrasil's seed as a catalyst, you will be able to use the 8-star plant attribute magic Yggdrasil, which is the power of the fairy and the destruction of the country. This one is for that little chicken owl. Only those who know the future poem can put this sound into their mouths now. It seems to be pretty well received. Did you know, Sylphia? I don't know, Carrot. Without answering on purpose, he closed his eyes and sighed. He pretended to recall the great past. Your true worth will be demonstrated in the future. If it's enough to show you a little at that time, I'll deal with you. With those words, I started walking again. I don't know what kind of expression Kaya is making from behind. I don't know what kind of thinking process you went through. It didn't matter. It was important that the small noise caused by the magic circle disappeared. Kaya has won the magic circle. A smile burst out of his lips. Is it because of the relief of being alive? It was a bit too pretentious. But I'm glad things worked out anyway. Isaac, this one is for that little chicken owl. Oh, again. Why? I tried to pretend I didn't hear, but Kaya shouted one more time, Sir Isaac, and forced me to stop. Why are you here pretending to be weak? Clearly. That was a question to ask? Actually, it was true that he was just weak, because in Kaya's eyes, I'm a cosplayer of the underdog. Well, this is not enough. There was only one reaction I would give here. I don't know. This is it. In this case, the rule of thumb is to let the opponent slurp without saying a word. Then I moved my feet again. Kaya didn't talk to me anymore. After walking for a while, even when I looked back, Kaya was out of sight. He let out a very, very deep sigh of relief. Kia, I'm alive. Buy this. I was lucky. Whoa, it's really here. But now was not the time to be immersed in the joy of survival. He cleared his mind and covered his face. I had to find a place where the demons would appear and where Ian and Luce would meet. Where are you? Where? I found one mana grain. Let's pick this up first. When I brought the watch, the mana grains attached to the stone flew away like fireflies and stuck to the watch band. Now there are 10 minutes left. The current time is 6:50 p.m. 10 minutes left until the demons appear. I took a step back. The only clue I know is that the place where demons appear is an empty lot with a low cliff. Yesterday, I searched all over the Delphine Forest, but I couldn't find it because the forest was so wide. You have to find it there. It will probably be difficult to find on time. Then I arrived at the river with the memories of the previous visit. No matter how thickly the Delphine Forest was, I could see the sky clearly from here. Then I looked at my watch. 7 o'clock. The time when the sunset disappears and a deep blue energy flows through the sky. By now, demons must have appeared in front of Ian and Luce. Any further wandering here is a waste of time. Let's stop looking for mana grains for a while. The top priority is to prevent a bad ending. I decided to stand still. This one is for that little chicken owl. Obviously, when Ian and Luce fight the demons, a fairly large scale of magic will come and go. You just have to go to the place where the magic was cast. There is a possibility that the further you move from here, the further away you will be from that place. Let's wait a little bit. In the forest that slowly began to fill into darkness, holding my breath, I was standing still. Woo! A roar rang out. I quickly turned my head toward the roar. Since this place was by a river, the trees did not cover it, so it was easy to see the identity of the roar. If you run from here, you can reach it in less than 10 minutes, and a sharp pillar of ice rises. The pillar was black, not blue like ordinary ice. This one is for that little chicken owl. Others may not know, but I know for sure. Ice magic with dark properties was cast. Needless to say, it was the magic of the demons. The ice pillars disappeared as black light powder at once. I immediately started running towards where the black ice plume had risen. Please hold on until I arrive. Ian, better to win. Ouch! Hey, where are you going in such a hurry? In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No. What is it? Wasn't he a lowly commoner with an E-class magical power? Tristan Humphrey, LV, 71. Race, human. Attribute, wind. Risk, medium. Tristan Humphrey, a high-ranking freshman in the Faculty of Magic and a vain blonde noble. The guy got in my way. He shook his head rapidly. Thanks to playing Magic Knight of Marchen, I kept all the main character's characteristics in my head. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. My level is 26. The level difference with that guy is a whopping 45. But I don't know about the other guys. But if I do my best, I think I can beat that guy. Knock that guy down quickly. It passes. I warmed up ice mana by accelerating the flow of mana in my body. Yonke, you have survived until now. The subject of an E-class commoner? Whoa. There is one magic grain in the watch. One. Whoops. Did you keep hiding to try to live? Are you sharp? Besides, the mana sensing ability seems to be at a poor level. What a pity. Is it cowardly suppressing the baseline with facts? Well, even though that guy looks like a nerd, it's a self-evident fact that he's far superior to me in terms of skills. If I fight head-on with magic, I will unconditionally lose, but you have to go through it. I don't know what's going on with Ian. Maybe it's a crisis of facing a bad ending. I don't know, because I can't have a bad ending because of him. I secretly put one finger into the magic pocket in my back pocket. A small glass bottle was held by the finger. It was a magic tool. Tristan Humphrey's magic is on the powerful side, as seen when measuring the amount of mana. But he has a weakness. That is, he is inexperienced in defending himself by focusing only on attack. He doesn't like the fighting style of carefully deploying defensive magic. He is a man who has mastered only attack magic with the mindset that attack is defense. This is a mindset created by lack of practical experience. It must have been supported and raised by the employees of the Humphreys. In fact, this class assignment evaluation was his debut stage. Aren't you even trying to run away with this body in front of you? E-class commoners. What kind of confidence, or perhaps the strength in my legs has loosened? And then I swallowed the wrong breath and coughed in vain. Is it because I have been playing Magic Knight of Marchen for a long time? For some reason, even the lines like Tristan's third-rate villain feel sweet. Still, I'm going to overthrow you, because I know you well. It will be possible. I threw the small glass bottle in my hand to the floor. Clink! The small glass bottle was smashed by a stone. The hazy mist that had been condensed inside the glass bottle burst out. Process fog. When the bottle is broken, a thick mist of water property is immediately generated on the spot. The effect lasts for 20 seconds. Rank, Tier 7, Fog. The magic tool I broke was a water attribute item, Processing Fog. It spreads a hazy mist around it in an instant like a smoke bomb. But this alone is not enough. If you look closely, Nana and Tristan can discern each other's movements. I stretched my right hand forward and spread the pure white cold air. Frost release ice attribute, 1. The thick fog quickly cooled and turned whiter. As the air cools and condenses, it becomes an advection fog, and the density of the fog increases with the cold air. As I drained the ice mana with my other hand, Ian and Luce joined forces and started running towards the place where they were fighting the demons. At that time, whoops, a sharp, pale green wind cut through the gray mist and narrowly passed in front of me. Windsword wind attribute, 3. I stopped on the spot. I almost fell behind. Foo. Do you not know how to joke around like this? Tristan was reaching out to me. A magic circle scattering light green light was embodied in front of his hand. Whoa. The wind began to blow in all directions, driving the fog away. It was the wind created by Tristan. Wind generation, wind attribute. 1. The wind attribute is characterized by a linkage that continuously generates wind to increase subsequent magical output. In other words, he is trying to hunt me in earnest. I thought so. But when the fog was clearing, I was reaching out to the other person as well. It was already making ice from the moment the fog spread. He clenched his fist with a blue light in the palm of his hand. The mana that was flowing out was cut off. A large chunk of ice that had formed on Tristan's head fell down. Ice generation ice attribute, 1. Yes. Fuck. A lump of ice received the force of gravity and hit Tristan's head directly. The dull sound resounds terribly. Tristan collapses with a shriek. The block of ice that attacked him was bigger than I normally make. It was thanks to the elemental synergy being exhibited by the water property fog generated by the processing fog. Soon, Tristan's wind stops. The fog is fading away. The figure of Tristan lying on the floor with blood on his head was clearly visible, since I was attacked by an E-class commoner whom I ignored so much. I might practice my defense magic to death from now on. It's too late. I looked at my watch and remembered that it was an urgent situation. Tristan's watch was greedy to earn points, but the time it took to take it away was not worth it. I made up my mind and started running again towards my destination. The trigger for this bad ending is not Ian's death. This is the time when Luce summons a workhorse to defeat the demons. Her workhorse is the 8-star beast, Thunder Creed Gaul. Like the magic level, the highest level, 9-star, is the destruction of the world level. And Gaul is the highest level of destruction of the country, level below that level. The problem is that she has no control over Gaul. The original beast, who became a workhorse, must faithfully follow the instructions of its master. But Gaul, who is out of control, ignores her orders lightly, while willingly accepting the penalty for disobeying orders. If Gaul manifests here, all the talented students who have survived the placement evaluation so far will die. Currently, there are only first-year students in the magic department in the forest, so before the bachelor's side can respond, Gaul's lightning strike completely engulfs the forest. It is only natural that the main character, Ian, who still remains in the forest, will die. After all, one of the greatest powers of the Marchen Academy. The situation is settled when Dorothy Hartnova, a sophomore at the Faculty of Magic and called the Star Witch, manages to defeat the Thunder Creed Gaul. By that time, many people, including Ian, had already died. That is, it is a bad ending. Please don't be late. Even if I ran out of breath until the tip of my chin, I ran with all my might. How dare you hurt this body? Tristan reached out in the direction Isaac had left. Blood spilled on his head, and he fell to the floor, covered with dirt. A light green magic circle was embodied in front of his hand, and it was rotating slowly. If you pour magical energy like this, and use the long-range attack magic, Twirlwind, it might reach Isaac. On the topic of E-class commoners, on the trivial topic of E-class commoner, Tristan struggles with the urge to lose consciousness. He poured his magical energy towards Isaac, who had left turning wind attribute. 4. A light green wind whirled and began to sway with a strong force. But, wooing. The tornado was about to smash the trees and head towards Isaac. It was devoured by a more powerful tornado protruding from the side. Tristan's eyes widened. A female student who blew a much stronger thunderwind against his turtle wind walked out through the darkness in the forest. Her pale green ponytail fluttered as she walked. The jade-colored eyes were exceptionally bright even in the slowly darkening forest. It was Kaya Estrayan, the second-class freshman in the Faculty of Magic. Why? You... Kaya closed her eyes as if she had no interest in Tristan's question. Ha! Kaya took a deep breath and thought. He is weak. Isaac Sama is so weak that it is not even worth showing his sincerity. Isaac sensed the mana of Yggdrasil's seed. Even he, who had the seed in his body right away, couldn't sense the mana. Detecting mana that is not being radiated is famous as the realm of the Archmage. Isaac was once again proved that he was an unrivaled talent. Awesome. Isaac. Bing. Just that kind of power. Waste of time. It was natural. How insignificant must he seem to such an amazing person? At least, if you want to compete with Isaac of your original ability, it is polite to have at least a threshold. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the contrary, challenging him with his insignificant skills was an act of ignoring him. It was like an infant child fighting an adult knight. Then the other party will tell you this. Come when you grow up. I'm going to become strong enough to be able to see Isaac a little. But Kaya slowly opened her eyes. Her will burned quietly like embers. Why? Are you covering up E-Class commoners? Tristan asks with a trembling voice as if he doesn't understand English. That is the reason. Of course. Kaya answered with a sigh mixed in as if pathetic. Whoops, hey. The wind that Kaya had created began to wind around her. It has a higher concentration of magic power than Tristan's. Wind generation. And Kaya's wind generation until the century. Her pale green ponytails and the hem of her school uniform began to flutter wildly. A face shady in the darkness of the forest, eyes looking down with displeasure. At this, Tristan was looking at him with a face full of doubt and fear. Why is she protecting Isaac and opposing Tristan? To Isaac, whom I have never even dared to touch. Are you attacking me? It was just a matter of self-esteem. Kaya's wind began to sway violently around her. Soon, Tristan's body floated up above the dark forest. The twilight of the evening sky is so beautiful. With that sentiment, his consciousness drifted beyond the distant horizon, like a distant horizon. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Meanwhile, Luz Eltenia's rose gold hair and the school uniform she was wearing were covered in dry dirt. She cleared her mind in front of the strange-looking demons. A man in a loose navy blue robe standing like a statue, body with a lot of fine muscles, gray skin. Both eyes are tightly closed, with one hand under his chin and his head slightly bowed. It looked like he was thinking deeply. The sound of humming, squealing from before resonated in Luz's head. Ian Fairytale, who fought with that strange demon, is currently in a state of fainting. Die a little. Luz swung her arms lightly, pouring out magical energy. Then, under the feet of the demon, a magic circle emitting blue light was formed, and hot water quickly gushed out. Geyser water attribute? 4. Pooh! A demon who avoids Luz's magic with a smooth movement that doesn't go well with her stiff appearance. Even during the evasive action, he was still thinking. The hot fountain just soared powerfully as if piercing the sky. Knew how to avoid it. The angle was deliberately adjusted. Luz led the monster to a place to escape, and magic was also activated there. Seawater prison water attribute. 4. In an instant, a round seawater prison made of water was created and the demons were trapped. The seawater prison froze rapidly. It's so. The demons casually broke the frozen seawater prison and escaped. My water magic alone is not enough. With a voice as calm as the moonlight, Luz was monologue. An ice magic that instantly freezes seawater prison to incapacitate it. It was proof that the demonic ice magic proficiency and elemental synergy were very good. That demon was so strong that he couldn't deal with Luz's water magic alone. Now, the demons began to hum in a loud voice. A large light blue magic circle was formed behind him. Elegant ice crystals floated around the magic circle. An alarm went off in Luz's head. This is dangerous. Suddenly, he takes a step forward. The ground began to freeze from his toes. Chara-la-la-la-la-la-la. The cold air rises like a blizzard, spreading rapidly across the ground in the form of a fan. The place where the cold is passed is frozen solid and becomes a smooth ice sheet. The blue of the cold winter ice attribute. 6. Luz hastily deployed Water Wall, a water property defense magic, around him. A circular water shield formed and began to protect her. Water Wall water attribute. 4. The cold air rushed in powerfully and tried to freeze the water barrier that surrounded Luz. She responded to the cooling by emitting magical energy with all her might, accelerating the flow of water that makes up the water wall. The cold wind passed over the water wall. and the landscape of the forest scene behind it was changed like it was in the Ice Age. Finally, the blue of the cold winter loses momentum and becomes quiet. Luce let out a faint breath in the chilly air and loosened the water wall. Luce quietly took a breath and glanced at the monster with eyes that seemed to contain the blue ocean. Water elemental magic alone cannot defeat that monster. Her maximum power is lightning magic, if he used that elemental magic. He was confident that he would win even if he was at a disadvantage. But in order to use lightning magic properly, I had to summon something that shouldn't be summoned, because 12 of her magical power is always being used to suppress the boy. Luce rolled up the sleeves of her school uniform and looked down at the magic circle engraved on her left wrist. If you summon a boy, you can defeat that unfortunate grayskin demon. But the guy is a double-edged sword. I can't say for sure if I'll be able to control it yet. However, he has become much stronger, to the extent that he entered the prestigious Martian Academy, the Faculty of Magic, as a senior. The amount of horsepower was enough to be A+ grade. Gall? But you may be able to control it now. Ha! To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. My chest is pounding. Take deep breaths in tension and calm your emotions. Finally, Luce made up her mind. 8-star beast. Thundercreed. Gall. Let's summon him. That's when Luce was about to chant the summoning spell with her index and middle fingers on the magic circle engraved on her wrist. Chinne. Footsteps were heard. I don't know if it's a mistake, but it sounded like it was made on purpose, as if to listen. Luce turned her head toward the sound of the sound. This one is for that little chicken owl. On top of the low cliffs around, a man stood. A man wearing a navy blue hooded coat. His whole body was muscular, and he seemed to be 2 miller tall. Inside the pressed hood, a round, bloody red eye glow shone. Below that, the mouth was very large. Exposed gums. The large, sharp teeth were neatly lined up, and the fangs and molars protruding up and down were particularly menacing. It was hard to tell the difference because of the hooded hood, but it looked like he had pitch black skin. Grew. It was like a beast. A beast. I'm sure a dangerous looking monster will pop out from here again. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, I really had no choice but to summon the Thundercreed. Gall. But why? The eyes of the monster standing on the cliff were not toward Luce, but towards the gray-skinned demon. Even the demons gave up their thinking posture and looked at the monster on the cliff with their eyes raised. It was clearly a borderline attitude. For some reason, it was an atmosphere of fighting with monsters. I think I bought the wrong clothes. I didn't have a choice. The owner of the secret shop said that he only had one magic camouflage left, but I guess it was magic camouflage costume, Berserker. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now I'm wearing a navy blue hooded coat, and the hood is tight. He wears a mask with sharp teeth, large fangs and molars arranged neatly around his mouth. They were all magic camouflage. To me, it just looks the way I am. But to others, I will look like a big monster. Standing on the cliff, I looked at Luce and the demons alternately. But somehow Luce's expression was unusual. It was an understandable response. Now I must be a creepy monster itself. But Ian, the Gemma is fainting again. Then, Ian fainted, leaning against the tree. This made sure you can't trust Ian in this game. Besides, it seemed that Luce was on the verge of summoning the Thundercreed Gall. Had it been a little late, it would have been a disaster. Thank God. I breathed a sigh of relief. At the time of the monologue, a growling and grunting sound was heard, like the cry of an animal. It sounded like a berserker's cry coming out of my mouth. I am also likely to be mistaken for a demon. Anyway, you've made it this far. What to do from now on is clear. The Contemplative Pernicus. 105. Race. Demon. Attributes. Dark. Ice. Risk. High. Defeat that demon and prevent the bad ending. The demon was recognized as an enemy. Unique trait Destroyer is activated. Levels and stats temporarily increase significantly. The skill tree temporarily becomes plus 10. Situation. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Name. Isaac. LV. 126. Gender. Male. Grade. 1. Title. Freshman. Horsepower. 4,000 of 34,000. Magical recovery speed A. Stamina A. Strength A+. Intellect D. Spirit S. Potential details. Power. Overflowing. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not like my body infinitely light. It feels as if the wind pressure is going to go out, even if you swing your fist a little. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Magic that overflowed beyond control. I thought I could kill that demon with a funny face. Frost Release Ice attribute. 1. A hazy chill flowed through his body. If cold air is wrapped around the body, the subsequent ice magic output will increase. It was the level of a skilled person who couldn't even dare to do it when he was an ordinary Isaac. But it was possible in today's country. The demon. The Contemplative Pernicus exuded a strong vigilance. He poured his magical energy and created a black ice spear in the air. Ice spear ice attribute. 4 black ice attribute. 5 is black ice spear ice attribute. A huge ice spear threateningly crosses the air. The target was me. It was a great speed. But avoiding that would be foolish. The attack range of Ice Spear is rather narrow. It's meant to be blown up and stabbed with the tip of a spear. It's good to use when dealing with large beasts. However, Pernicus uses the Ice Spear as a personal use. This one is for that little chicken owl. Obviously, if I avoid Ice Spear, it will use a tactic to blow up the dark attribute mana planted in the Ice Spear in advance and fire ice cubes in all directions. It was an attack pattern that was difficult to avoid. But who am I now? A gangster limited to demons? It's enough to accept that. Ice Spear. I stretched out my palms and poured out my mana lavishly. As the skill tree became plus 10, I was able to use magic that I normally couldn't use sensibly. I waved my arms. Okay. Do-do-do-do-do. A huge ice wall unfolded following the movement of my hand. Ice wall ice attribute. 4. Kang. The Ice Spear could not penetrate the solid ice wall. After hearing the sound of the two magic collide, I jumped up of the cliff at once. Boo! Oh, prison. The body jumped lightly like a ball. It felt like floating in the air for a long time. Exciting. This dizzying feeling. Like bungee jumping. Adrenaline and dopamine were secreted, and excitement rushed in. I disabled Ice Wall. A huge wall of ice quickly turned into powder that scatters blue light and flew away. The sight of my surroundings covered in blue was truly a sight to behold. In it, I was flying towards Pernicus. My. Pernicus seemed surprised just by looking at it. He tried to deploy the magic urgently, but it was already too late. As I flew at him, I poured ice mana into my right hand. A blue magic circle appeared in front of the palm where mana was condensed. He stretched out his hand toward Pernicus. When you finally reach the enemy's nose, to let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mana clumps, and explodes. Ice explosion, ice attribute. 5. The ice bursts out like an explosion and rushes at him. Ice attribute national magic. Ice explosion. A hazy chill rages, and an explosive flood of freezing engulfs Pernicus. A huge ice mass formed by freeze explosion seemed to cover the Delphine forest, then kicked up off the ground and sharply stretched out toward the sky. I lightly landed on the floor and got up. Whoa. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. My sigh became a chilly chill, seeping into the air. He lowered his hand and looked at Pernicus, who was trapped in the ice mass. The boy was trapped in an ice mass with a painful face. He slowly clenched his right hand. Quietly. Quadjajak. Then the huge ice ingot broke apart. Before the shards flew around, they disappeared into a beautiful bluish powder. Pernicus fell to the floor, bleeding from the blood. With an expression like a failed philosopher. No matter how many times he contemplated, he could not find the answer he wanted. Pernicus turned to gray dust and was blown away by the wind. Finished. Succeeded in preventing the bad ending. A feeling of relief came so deep that my whole body trembled. I'm glad. Then, a system window appeared in front of me. Congratulations. Defeated the demon. Pernicus of Contemplation, level 105, and gained experience. Level up. 12 has risen to 30. Stats increased by 8. There is no such thing as clearing achievements this time. But there is one other thing. A black circular gem the size of a finger fell where Pernicus had turned into gray powder and disappeared. It was a reward for defeating Pernicus. I picked it up and put it in my pocket. You have obtained the loot. Remnant of Darkness. Remnant of Darkness. Grants dark mana to the user's basic elemental magic to learn new elemental magic. Rank. Tier 1. Remnants of Darkness. This is mine now. Are you the main character? Ian Fairytale. 38. Race. Human. Attributes. Light. Fire. Risk. X. Why would such a sleazy bastard who only fainted on a fictional day need something like this? By the way, the level has risen quite a bit. On the day of the entrance ceremony, I was level 32, as the main character. He grows up fast. You chose fire as an attribute other than light. I'm glad it didn't overlap. No. If my second attribute is fire, it will overlap. As much as possible. I can only hope that I am not a fire attribute. After you get Hild's Frost Scythe, you'll have to acquire the final weapon of the second attribute that you will learn later. The more it didn't overlap with Ian, the better. Now my body is heavy. It seems that I have returned to my normal body. It was as if the sandbag had been worn all the time, and then removed for a brief moment and refilled while enjoying a sense of freedom. That situation. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Name. Isaac. 30. Gender. Male. Grade. 1. Title. Freshman. Horsepower. 260 of 350. Magical recovery speed D. Stamina D. Strength D+. Intellect D+. Spirit B. Potential details. Combat ability. Elemental Class 1. Ice. Elemental Firepower D+. Elemental Efficiency D+. Elemental Synergy C. Elemental Series 2 locked. The ability has returned to its original state. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No. Total magical power increased by 10, and elemental firepower was upgraded from D class to D+. It seemed that his abilities had risen while he was facing Tristan Humphrey and the contemplative Pernicus. It's small, but it feels good. Like, what are you? Greyung. Blinked. There was loose. She was looking at me with a vigilant face. Are you a monster? This one is for that little chicken owl. Obviously. I must look like a dangerous monster at first glance, but I calmly ask what my identity is. Anyway, no matter what kind of answer you give, you will only hear things like gurung or guwak. It is best to run away or run quickly. Now that the big work is done, you need to collect even a little more mana grains. I was planning on wiping out as many mana shards as possible until the last minute of this class assignment evaluation. Well, fortunately, even if an E-class like me survived the class placement evaluation for a long time, there was no fear of being suspicious. How long and who survived is kept secret, unless someone like Tristan doesn't talk about it. Fortunately, he's a bum of pride, so he won't go around talking about his bullshit. I turned my back on Luce and started running quickly. Wait a minute. Water generation water attribute? 1. Wow. Gowak. Jump. Took. A plume of water spurted out in front of my feet. I took a step back in surprise. It was Luce's magic. I didn't know you were gonna tie my feet up. Name? What is your name? What kind of gritty monster do you ask for a name? Griung. Griung. You'll hear Griung or Guwak anyway. So I just answered with a cry. Then he started moving his feet again. Fortunately, Luce didn't stop me anymore. Ground? I don't know why, but Luce had the sound of crying in her mouth. I ignored it and ran through the darkness of the forest. I had to leave this place and find the mana grains. After running quite a distance, I took of my magic camouflage. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtell.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, putting this camouflage suit into the magic pouch will destroy evidence. I was amazed every time I saw this big piece of clothing all fit in a small pocket. It said that storage magic has been applied, but I don't know the principle. Anyway, the magic bag is a really convenient thing. Where did this go? Where's the magic pouch? But in case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtell.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. None. No matter where I looked in my clothes, there were no magic pockets. I looked up my memory, probably before running away from Luce. She must have heard a pop sound when she used the water generation magic. Is that then? Oh, I have to go again. Darkness filled the sky, and the place where I stopped for a while because of Luce's magic was also on the dark side. So he probably didn't notice that the magic pouch was falling. How do I go back and pick it up? Is Luce still there? If yes, would it be better to disguise yourself and go back and pick up your pockets? In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtell.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not. That's unnatural. What does the monster that slept away after defeating the demons come back to pick up? The picture is weird. I'm sure Luce would think it was strange. Besides, I wondered if she would let me go. If she catches her ankle, then it's over. There's no way I'll be able to stand up to her accusations. And it'll be just a matter of time before she realizes that I'm wearing a magic camouflage suit. If so, it's a bit of a risky gamble. I have no choice but to go back to Isaac as he is and pick it up naturally. Pretending to be startled, he pretends to sneak back, secretly picks up the magic pouch and runs away. According to my memory, Luce doesn't touch Ian. This is because the points have already been plentiful, and the mind is full of thoughts about the demon. Besides, she has no interest in other people. They don't know who has an E-class magic power, and they don't even try to find out until the end of the story of Marchand's magical night. As an E-class, I wouldn't have any doubts that I'm still alive. In other words, I just gambled that I don't care about weak people like me. I hid the magic camouflage I had taken of F in the grass and headed back to the place where I fought Pernicus. Luce needed some time to stand still and organize his thoughts. The monster that just left. He was strong enough to crush the demons who had troubled Luce at once. With common sense, you shouldn't have caught or chased a monster that strong. If the madness and hostility he exuded had been directed at him, it would have had the worst irreversible consequences. But Luce mustered up the courage to stop the monster once and for all. I wanted to ask for your name. Why did she do such a foolish thing? For a moment she regretted it. Anxiety that I might be fighting the monster loomed over me. However, the monster quietly left. It was a million luck. Griung. Luce remembered his answer. Ground. It was called the grave. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, she knew it was just a cry, but she didn't know what to call it, so she decided to call it Griung. What is the identity? Luce asked a question. It was an unknown topic at the moment. At that moment, the sound of the grass shaking was heard. It was the direction the tomb disappeared. To let you know that I've been through a lot. Then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Hiwehwe. Maybe Griung is back. Luce quickly turned her head toward the sound. Hey. He was an ordinary boy, a man with silver hair and red eyes that gives of F a slightly bluish look in the moonlight. As soon as he saw Luce, he was startled and fell backwards and pounded his butt wheel. Luce can't hide his disappointment. She had already earned a decent amount of points, because no one could match her. I'm sure that guy is also a sleazy sort. Besides, right now, my mind was full of thoughts about demons and graves. There was no time to worry about such a weak-looking guy. Sue. Chief, it's noisy. Don't make a fuss. Just go. Luce frowned. Did you notice the warning-like expression on her face? A man with bluish silver hair slowly retreated back with a frightened face as if he had seen a ghost. Then, he got up quickly and started jogging. Luce looked at Ian, who was still fainting. You'll be fine. She left Ian and left. Class placement evaluation is over. The results were not good. As the weakest body, he survived for 5 hours and succeeded in defeating the demons. But he was able to collect only 2 mana grains, 10 points each. Total 20 points. Even if there was a blind spot that the mana grains were more visible at night, the students here had a high level of mana sensing. Regardless of such a blind spot, the mana grains can be swept away. Besides, there was not enough time. After defeating the contemplative Pernicus, the remaining time was about 20 minutes. After that, I went back to the scene, saw Luce, and pretended to be surprised by her acting skills comparable to that of a famous actor. For only 10 minutes, my eyes fell and I was looking for the remaining mana grains. Gels are earned according to the class placement evaluation points. In other words, the gel I will earn is only 20 gels. If you buy 2 loaves of bread, it's the amount that will be stolen. It's hard. Returning to the dormitory, I stretched out as it was with a confused mind and got up again and went out to train. This is not the time to be hard. It's not the time to get frustrated because you earned less gel. I have to be strong. Enough to defeat the final boss, the evil god in a pit. Ugh! Also, the sore throat hurts. There was no muscle pain. It seems unreasonable. If I go to the gym for the past few days, it is thanks to the students of the Knight's faculty who welcomed me and gave me a personal PT in hell. Besides, I was tired because of the class assignment evaluation. Still, I couldn't delay training. Let's focus on magic training today, as soon as possible. I wanted to recall the sense of magic that I used when dealing with the contemplative Pernicus. Class placement assessments were held today, so most first-year students will be resting from exhaustion. In other words, they can take over the training ground. A night with a full moon hanging in the sky, ignoring the corner of the garden, the place where I had been practicing magic for a week. I headed to the training ground, dedicated to the first year of the Faculty of Magic. As I entered the dome-shaped building, the scenery of the empty training ground greeted me. When the light was turned on, a light lit up on the ceiling with luminous magic. Goyo came awkwardly, because this is a place where students with high spirits of improvement always practice their magic while sweating PR of usely. Since I am an E-class commoner with magical power, I am in a position to be ignored, so I could not use the training ground to my heart's content. If you get into even a trivial dispute, you will suffer both mentally and physically. So, except for the first day when I measured the amount of horsepower. Today was the first time I tried using the training ground. Broad space. There were special facilities made of various elements, lakes, stoves, rocks, icebergs, etc. The space where those facilities were installed was a training place to effectively train elemental efficiency and elemental synergy. There was also a training ground where you could hit various elemental targets or fight monster illusions. That's the building next door. Let's do it. He slapped both cheeks with both hands to drive away fatigue. It's not time to rest yet. Hold on a little. Let's start by distributing the stats. The potential power. Retained stats. 8. Growth rate. Training efficiency C. 26 of 100 up. Magic training efficiency C. 27 of 100 up. Learning efficiency D. 12 of 100 up. Elemental resistance. Fire element resistance E. 0 of 100 up. Water element resistance D. 6 of 100 up. Ice element resistance C. 24 of 100 up. Lightning element resistance C. 29 of 100 up. Stone element resistance E. 2 of 100 up. Wind element resistance D. 10 of 100 up. Neutral property magic resistance D. 8 of 100 up. Great tribal combat power. Human combat power E. 4 of 100 up. Erase combat power E. 1 of 100 up. Elios combat power. Of 100 up. Anti-demon combat power S. 100 of 100 max. All 8 stats are invested in magic training efficiency. Potential magic training efficiency has been improved from class C to class C+. C+ level, the growth will definitely go up. But I remember that the noticeable change occurred from the B+ grade. Since it's a B+ level, it's the realm of the talented. When I waved my hand, the status window went over. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now, let's review the magic we used against Pernicus. First of all, what I want to learn even a little faster is by far the 5-star magic, Freeze Explosion. Freeze Explosion is a versatile and powerful offensive magic. Once you get used to it, it will become a sort of ultimate for me. However, the original 5-star magic is only at a level that can only be learned in the second year. Guys like Luce and Kaya, who have been using 5-star magic with ease since their first year, are out of standards. Anyway, my short-term goal is to learn Freeze Explosion at least at an immature level before the face-to-face performance evaluation. At that time, it would be good to measure his fighting ability as an ordinary Isaac, since there are not only demons in the enemy. They cannot rely on the unique characteristic Destroyer, even after the face-to-face performance evaluation. It is the end of the semester evaluation. It's the part where Luce's workmanship and a whopping level 175 Thundercreed Gallia appear. So if things go wrong, you'll easily die. Therefore, it was necessary to increase the amount of skills that can be used when the Destroyer attribute is activated. But who do I fight against in a face-to-face match? During the face-to-face performance evaluation, the main character, Ian Fairytale, will fight Luce. Is it because your opponent is determined to be a good match? Not. It's just because Ian is black. Who Isaac fought with is not depicted in the game, so it's an unknown area, at least until then. Besides freeze explosion, I wanted to learn several good skills. I stood up straight and put the fingers of both hands together. He created a gap between the palms of his hands and let out the magic at the maximum output. Freeze explosion is a magic that pours out magical energy and explodes it all at once. So this posture will be the most effective. Cold blue energy began to condense in the space between his hands. It was ice attribute mana. Release this all at once and blow it up. I stretched out my hand forward, bursting with condensed blue mana. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mana scattered without a pulse. It sounded like a deflated balloon. When dealing with demons, it was easy to use freeze explosion under the influence of skill tree Paul 10, but now it doesn't even work properly. Whoa! This one is for that lil chicken owl. Once more, Irai. Sweat dripped down just by trying. It was difficult to fine-tune the magic power, and the amount of magic power itself was insufficient in the first place. When dealing with demons, if it felt like pouring out magical energy, how are you feeling right now? As for the shower, the water pressure is weak, and there is only one hole through which the water pours out, and it feels like it is even small. I turned on the status window. I wanted to check the acquisition conditions for freeze explosion once again. Pada. Owned skills. Active. 1 ice generation, D+. 2 ice curtain, C+. 1 cold air dissipation, C+. 1 basic protection magic, D. Passive. Doesn't exist. Skill tree. Details. I clicked skill tree details at the bottom. The first of the 2 elemental items, ice, was pressed. The second skill tree was locked because the second element attribute had not yet been opened. For reference, there is also a third menu, neutral, and things like basic protection magic are included here. I checked the ice attribute skills displayed in ice. The skills I could use were engraved in bright letters. These are ice generation, ice curtain, and cold discharge. A skill tree in the form of a circuit extending downwards by striking side branches. In the middle of it, the words, freeze explosion, were engraved. The text color was dark. It meant that it was a skill that had not yet been acquired. When I touched freeze explosion with my finger, a new system window appeared. Freeze explosion 5. A large amount of ice elemental mana is condensed and released, causing explosive freezing to inflict powerful damage on the enemy. Type, active skill attack type. Attribute, ice. Acquisition condition, L50. Ice generation, B class. Cold air dissipation, B class. Ice attribute, elemental firepower, C+ grade. Ice property, elemental efficiency, C+ grade. Trigger condition, doesn't exist. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. None of the conditions have been met. Well done. The ultimate skill isn't something that can be obtained easily. I waved my hand to turn off the status window. There was still time. The only way to get stronger is by training a little harder. Create ice. Simba. I radiated my magic towards the large boulder in the training ground. Ice generation ice attribute. Why? Damn. If you use generate ice raw, you can only make it the size of a soccer ball. When used on a rock-like object, it was possible to spread it widely and freeze it. The rock surface was overlaid with the ice I had created. It was still thin. Oh right. Then I saw the booty. I took out the remnants of darkness I had in my pockets. Ice mana was infused into the remnants of darkness that looked like black pearls. Then the remnants of darkness began to emit black light, and it flowed into me as dark mana. It felt as if cold mana and damp mana were merging in my body. Suddenly, a new sensation arose, and a system window appeared in the air. The energy of loot, remnant of darkness, seeps into you. Bam. Congratulations. You have acquired the unique skill, Black Ice. Yeah. Black Ice 5. Creates Black Ice. Type. Active skill all round. Attribute, Ice Dark derived. Acquisition condition, adds ice attribute mana to Remnant of Darkness. Oh, trigger condition, doesn't exist. Black Ice. It is the same skill as ice generation, but the firepower and strength are different. He seemed to know how to use Black Ice. It was a natural, instinctive feeling, as if breathing. I reached out towards the rock, then released the ice. Then the ice evaporated into powder that scatters blue light, and the rock regained its original shape. Afterwards, he activated a new skill that was created by mixing ice mana and dark mana. Black Ice, Bada. Black Ice Ice attribute. 5. Slowly. Aha. The rock was instantly covered with black ice. It was much stronger than the ice generation I used before, and the momentum to freeze things was strong. The thickness of the black ice covered on the rock surface was also 5 times thicker than when ice generation was used. Besides, the ice was shining black, so it was difficult to tell if there was a rock inside. It can also be used as a blindfold. Then, he stretched out his hand. Black Ice was activated with maximum output towards the air. Sar rumble. A lot of mana was drained in an instant. The strength of his body was loosened, and he felt like he was about to collapse because he was depleted of mana at any moment. But seeing the ice formed in the air, I couldn't help but be drenched in joy. Big dog. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat, not the size of a soccer ball, almost the size of a car. At that moment, a system window appeared in front of me. Ice attribute elemental fire has been improved from D plus to C class. Ice attribute elemental efficiency has been improved from D plus to C class. Is it because of the increase in magic training efficiency and the first use of black ice? Immediately. Elemental firepower and elemental efficiency increased by 1 level. Good. Oh, of F. Before dropping the black ice, I quickly cancelled black ice. The black ice cubes turned into black shiny powder and flew in the air, then disappeared. I almost fell for a moment. How much mana do you have left? Horsepower. 10 of 350. Magical recovery speed D. Oh my gosh. As soon as I turned on the status window, I was blown away that there is only 10 magic left. When mana is depleted, mana recovery rate drops sharply. Of course, I haven't experienced it yet, but it was in the game. It just had to be avoided. Black ice. The performance is worth it. Boom. Black ice cannot completely replace ice generation. This is because the higher the firepower and the higher the output, the greater the horsepower consumption. N. Owned skills. Active. 1 ice generation. D plus of 5 black ice D plus. Black ice corresponds to the ice generation skill. When one rank goes up, the other goes up, and so on. Even if you use them alternately, there is no loss in terms of growth. When the black ice PR of Icency becomes S-class, it becomes possible to apply black ice to other magic just as Pernicus applied black ice to the ice spear. Then, the magic power basically increases. It's kind of a buff. In other words, if the destroyer attribute is activated whenever you face demons in the future, you can apply black ice to your other magic to power it up. Of course, I can only use it for ice generation, normally. The problem is that when black ice is applied to other skills, the amount of magic consumed increases 3 times. So, unless you have to do your best, it is better to refrain from doing so. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwemtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now one last check. Aren't you still learning Ice Wall? The first magic he used against Pernicus, Ice Wall. The sense of using that magic was still there. I went back to the status window, skill tree details, pressed the ice item, and then touched the Ice Wall skill, Ice Wall 4. Creates a wall of solid ice. Type, active skill defensive. Attribute, ice. Acquisition conditions, LV30O. Ice generation, C class. Cold air dissipation, class CO. Ice attribute, elemental firepower, C class O. Ice property, elemental efficiency, C class O. I'll learn it soon. The only way unsatisfied acquisition condition, ice generation, C class, is 1 step ahead. I will be able to learn Ice Wall soon. Enthusiasm is rising somehow. Growing up was fun. First of all, I'm short on mana, so it would be better to end magic training here. Something feels good. But I want to exercise. Went to the gym. Then the Knights faculty welcomed them as if they had been waiting for them. After finishing Hell's PT, I returned to the dormitory tumbled with deep regret. Class placement evaluation results. First place, Luce Eltania 8350 points. Second, etc. Kaya Astria 8200 points. Point. Third, etc. Seal Carnatus 8020 points. Fourth, etc. Tristan Humphrey 7720 points. 5, etc. Dodge to Horses 7600 points. 300, etc. Isaac 20 points. Ian is surprised. E-class in 240th place? Something must have happened. The flurry is worthy of praise? Look at the same E-class Isaac. 20 points. 20 points. 20 points. Are you human? The Faculty of Magic building. Orphan Hall. In the hall on the first floor of the building, first-year students of the Faculty of Magic had gathered. A large parchment was hung on the wall in the center of the hall, and on it were engraved the results of the placement evaluation. Last place? 300th place? Out of 300 students in the first year of the Faculty of Magic? It was expected, but it was still last. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the other hand, Ian with the same horsepower E-class is 240th. My wretchedness stands out even more. Students looking at me and laughing at me. Everything in the world doesn't go my way. Class placement assessment is literally a test to determine which class each student will be placed in. The temporary classes so far have been just temporary, as the name suggests. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, I will be assigned to Class D, which is the lowest. For reference, class assignment reflects not only the class assignment evaluation result, but also the horsepower measurement result. In other words, Ian Fairytale with E-class horsepower will also be assigned to the same D class. Even when I played Magical Knight of Marchen, the result of the unconditional placement evaluation was D class. In the end, it was an unavoidable fate for Ian. Class D itself was fine. No matter which class I belong to, I will do my best to become stronger. The problem was money. It's 20 points, so 20 gels. 20 gels will be given to me. That's the price of 2 10-gel loaves of bread. How can I live by eating just this right now? There is no other answer than a loan. It seems that the debtor cannot escape. Student information is shared between the academy and the bank. This is because the island's bank itself is under the academy's control. If the loan receivable becomes a non-performing loan, the credit rating is lowered, and the student suffers a disadvantage in the performance evaluation result. If you lack the ability, it means you should try to leave the academy or die. It was a ruthless system befitting the elitist. Weak, heavy education policy of the Marchen Academy. My life I let out a deep sigh. Immediately after class placement evaluation, Luce reported to the Bachelor that demons had appeared. The faculty held an emergency meeting. I know what they were talking about, because it was in the game. This one is for that little chicken owl. Once the demon appears, it will be sent secretly to prevent confusion among students, since there was no sign of anyone intruding from the outside. It must have been concluded that the demons were in the Delphine Forest from the beginning. Therefore, the Bachelor's side must have come up with alternatives in the direction of scouring the Academy site to find and exclude risk factors. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, the alternatives from the Bachelor's side do not have much effect. Right before the exam, even if they inspect every corner of the exam hall and set a barrier, a demon that had been sleeping under the ground in the form of Mana came out during the test. Can't stop. Eventually, the shoulders of the president and principal will become heavy. Still, the Academy will continue to return, so don't worry. However, this time it was different from the previous game story. I intervened. That is me, Isaac. It seems that Luce also reported on the monster that defeated the demons. That is, me. I could tell by looking at the notice posted on the bulletin board in the Academy Square. In the notice, a humanoid monster with lumpy muscles was drawn, and it was also written, students who have seen this type of behemoth should report it. This is what it looks like. When you put on a magic camouflage in the game, your character changes as if you were wearing a skin. So, I already knew how scary berserkers looked. The height is over 2 meters. He has muscles that can explode. The guy with that huge size had the face of a ferocious monster. The skin is black, and the mouth is large. The large teeth, which are sharp but arranged neatly, are clearly visible. In addition, the fangs are as large as a saber-toothed tiger. With the hood pressed down, the corners of his eyes look dark, and the round, sinister red-eye glow from within is very menacing. I am likely to be misunderstood as a demon. The demons will continue to appear until Ian graduates, and I will continue to capture the demons. If the Bachelor, who is going to suffer from demons, finds out about me like that, I don't know what kind of trouble it will be. It will only be a matter of time before my existence reaches the ears of Student Council President Alice Carroll. The same is true when it comes to being bullied by students. Just imagining it gives me a headache. It would be best to reduce the variables as much as possible and reach the final boss, the evil god Napid. So I bought a magic camouflage suit, but apparently it's a berserker skin. If you catch demons for nothing and get misunderstood and attacked because of their appearance, where is the point of disappointment? Still, I couldn't help it. At first, I didn't know how to find out what the concept of the clothes was. There was only one of those clothes in stock, and the store owner didn't explain anything. But now I can't buy anything else. This one is for that little chicken owl. One of the characteristics of the secret store is that it is non-refundable and non-exchangeable. However, it is very expensive to buy other magic camouflage suits. Right now, I'm in a position to lose my entire fortune even if I only buy 2 loaves of bread. It is doubtful whether other stocks may have come in the first place. I'm hungry. The ship's horn sounds hungry, but I only have 1 10-gel bread in my hand. In the broad daylight, I sat down on any bench and began to slurp my bread. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwimtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now the remaining wealth is 10 gels. I'll have to go to the bank and get a loan later. You are a freshman who has only just seen the class placement evaluation, and you are already in debt. I've been playing games countless times and I've never been like this. It's sad. Really? Are you alone? Suddenly, a loud male voice came from behind. It was a very familiar voice that came in while playing Magic Knight of Marchen. I turned my head back and looked at the owner of the voice. Matteo Giordana, LV 75. Race, human. Attribute, rock. Risk, X. Her brown hair had her bangs removed, revealing her forehead, and her facial features were distinct. Since he has a strong physique, he is a good fit for the image of the elemental rock attribute. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo Giordana. He was going to fight Ian Fairytale soon, and was a named character who would become a major supporting role in the future. After staring blankly, Matteo introduced himself. It's Matteo Giordana. Isaac, right? To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo leans on the bench and leans his upper body slightly. A voice echoes as if in a cave. I wish my voice was overflowing with masculinity like that. Okay. Why? Only 1 loaf of bread? Are you not eating properly? There is no gel. Have you already used up the gel? No, I don't think. Was he even Rob? To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo frowned. It was a response that made sure to listen to my side. It was natural, because he is a commoner. He feels the same as me, a commoner. The Matteo gang formed later were all from commoners. Matteo is going to rebel against the nobles, and the first person to cause conflict was Ian and Isaac. I have to be his subordinate for a while, to prevent a bad ending. What? That's right. I deliberately poked around a bit. I wanted to buy compassion and get some food. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo has a strong companionship, so he can't easily ignore a poor guy like me. And now, that camaraderie was directed towards common people. Besides, he has a habit of saving money. and his magic skills are also at the top. The gel will remain unconditionally. Damn. Is this the work of the nobles? Follow me right now, it will give you a nutritional balance. I didn't even know if it was the work of the nobles or the commoners that I was robbed, but Mateo guessed. It would have been nice if I could only get rice to eat. Due to his personality, he seemed to be able to eat for a while. It's honey. This one is for that lil chicken owl. Of course, the debt you ate will be paid off at once. I went to the student cafeteria with Mateo and ate a 50 gel lesson. He asked who had been robbed, but I pretended that I didn't know because it was in the middle of the night. The class was decided by adding up the horsepower measurement results and the class assignment evaluation results. This is the lowest class, D class, in the classroom. In a group of 20 people, I was sitting in the middle seat. 5 people were assigned to Class A, which was the highest, and 20 people were assigned to Class D, which was the lowest. The rest of the students were concentrated in classes B and C. In other words, the place I was in was a D-class classroom. In other words, you guys here are currently the first-year students of the magic faculty, who are inferior in skills. In front of the pulpit, the professor in charge of Class D looked at the students with blue eyes and recited in an unfeeling voice. It was Professor Fernando, a handsome-looking man with silver hair. The flirting of the D-class girls was reflected in my eyes. I even heard jokes saying that I was lucky to have come to Class D, who said they were happy to sell. This is the Marching Academy, the world of weak meat. Professor Fernando continued to speak, slowly back and forth from side to side with his back on his back. The sound of his heels echoed through the classroom. Even though educational opportunities are equal, there is no consideration for the weak in the outcome. If you guys don't become strong, you'll just be eaten up by top-class guys. Survive, failing is expulsion. Below the level is a failure. Failed 3 times is expelled. Come to think of it, the reason Isaac didn't appear after the beginning of the game was because he was expelled. I have to work hard. Even if you are a D class, you must become an elite among the elites. Like students of the Marching Academy, develop thoroughly. Try to die? That is your duty as prospective wizards and students at the Marching Academy. And you go out with your diploma. Do you understand? Professor Fernando stopped and asked the students in a voice cold as ice. The female student screamed, "Yeah." He replied cheerfully. Professor Fernando seemed bewildered because it was not the serious atmosphere he had expected. I've been through this short orientation over and over again, so I'm almost memorizing the lines. Vocal imitation is also possible. Then, I will explain the future D-class curriculum. In the game, after the cutscene ends and the scene changes, the phrase Act 2, Chapter 1, Class D appears. This means that the second act of the story has begun. But here, only Professor Fernando's orientation continued. It's a story outside of the game. By the way, the part that catches the evil Trillian is Act 1, Chapter 1, Ian Fairy Tale. The magic amount measurement part is Act 1, Chapter 2, E-Class Passionate. The class placement evaluation part is Act 1, Chapter 3. Class placement evaluation. Intensively master one elemental attribute during the first semester. The curriculum for the first semester is structured accordingly. Even if you master only one elemental attribute properly, one person can do it as a wizard in line with the academy curriculum. It would be more efficient to intensively master ice magic during the first semester. The second element can be learned in the second semester of the first year. After that, Professor Fernando explained the future schedule. It was all I knew. It has nothing to do with the curriculum. But soon, Act 2, Chapter 2, Childhood Friend Abduction Case will begin. This is the part where Ian and Mateo are tied together. At this time, you can get a loot called Deep Sea Ring that can read the opponent's mind. In case you have any questions, you can refer to ewmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Next is the Act 2, Chapter 3, Practice Training Part. During the practical training, the infamous Act 2, Chapter 4, the Ants Core part continues. Gargia of the Hermit, the so-called Ant Cub, comes out. Magic Knight of Marchen, one of the Wailing Walls in Hell difficulty. He is a demon who ate all kinds of swear words to people. The pattern is very difficult, and the level is a whopping 140. As of now, it is difficult to catch even if I show the Destroyer characteristic. In addition, Gargia's minions, the Disaster Ants Core, are excellent in collective intelligence and come under pressure with all kinds of tactics. Why is the difficulty level soaring all at once? The reason is Gargia's setting. First of all, there was a preparation for Gargia in advance. I just wish you well. And since Gargia is called the Wailing Wall, you can get a very useful item called Sword of Disaster just by catching it. It's definitely my car. In case you have any questions, you can refer to ewmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No matter what happens, Sword of Disaster cannot be yielded to anyone. The next part is Act 3, Chapter 1, Dalian. At this time, a face-to-face performance evaluation is scheduled. That is, it is Dalian. One-on-one fighting between first-year students. The scene where Ian surprises the students by demonstrating light attribute magic while fighting loose is the heart of this part. Who am I fighting? By then, I'll be a little stronger too. It will be a good indicator of how strong I have become. Let's only avoid over-the-top walls like Kaya, because it's obvious it's going to be overwhelming. The next part is Act 3, Chapter 2, Familiar. At this point, you can get a workhorse. And the long-awaited part that wraps up the first semester, Act 3, Chapter 3, End of Semester Exam. On the way, it leads to Act 3, Chapter 4, Subjugation of Thundercreed. if you have finished up to Act 3. Chapter 4, the first semester is over and the vacation begins. To be strong, your vacation plans will have to be very specific. Before that, though, I'll have to survive the brain creep. Let's keep thinking, remembering each episode in as much detail as possible. You suck and drink all the honey called honey. And you have to clear this game. But I defeat the evil god Nepet and clear this game. Luce couldn't concentrate in class, as if for granted. She was assigned to Class A. This one is for that little chicken owl. One student was already in the process of networking. Luce Eltania. Nice to meet you. I am from the White Clark family. Swish. After Luce arrives in the classroom, he ignores the student who tries to make friends with him. Then he continued to have a cold attitude. At first, she had no interest in other people. Neither her personal connections nor her youthful life were her interests. Because she entered this academy only looking for the Marchant Academy Magical Faculty Chief Diploma, then life will be on a solid road, and she will be able to become the master of her goal. But it was like a small fish thorn hung around his neck, something that kept bothering him. Professor Philip, who was in charge of Class A, did not listen to the contents of the class at all. It didn't matter because it felt like I was repeating what I already knew. Demon. Grung. After reporting what had happened during the class placement evaluation to the bachelor, Luce was told that there was no outside invasion. In other words, Grung and Asmodeans have been in the Delphine Forest from the beginning. At that time, there were only our first-year undergraduates in the Delphine Forest. Is it possible that the Asmodeans or Grung were students of the magic school who used camouflage magic? At least not on the demon side. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Marchant Academy freshmen go through a rigorous verification process to determine what elemental properties they have, just in case. If intelligent demons had entered the academy, they would have discovered the dark attribute mana. In other words, there was no possibility that at least the demon side was an official student. But it's different. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the other hand, Grung showed only ice attribute magic, ordinary elemental properties. There was a good chance that the monster was an academy student. It was as if he had appeared to punish the demons. Grung, did you know in advance that demons would appear during the class assignment evaluation? Thoughts bite their tails. What if Grung was a freshman in the Faculty of Magic and was in Delphine Forest during the class placement evaluation? What if you came to Marchant Academy for the purpose of killing demons? If for some reason he couldn't reveal his identity, so he hid his identity with camouflage magic. But Luce immediately shook her head. That's stupid. You already finished measuring the amount of horsepower on the first day. If he was that strong, he would have been caught at that time. The horsepower measurement results do not lie. It is impossible to hide the maximum amount of mana. Maybe... No. In case you have any questions, you can refer to umtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Nope, it won't be. It can't be. There was no way that a student his age could have reached the level of an archmage. It's not a realistic baby. Luce thought carefully as he stroked his chin with his slightly bent index finger. Or Grung was a vagrant wandering through the Delphine Forest. Let's think about it. Any clues? Dress? Luce remembered the clothes Grung was wearing. Her eyesight captured the shape of the clothes Grung was wearing when magic was manifested in the night forest and the light was shining. The memories came back as vividly as in the photos. Luce looked at the fragments of that memory. In case you have any questions, you can refer to umtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not completely clean, but almost new. To be considered a vagrant. It was an awkward outfit. What if that was a magic camouflage suit? A story that someone might have predicted in advance that a situation would arise where they had to hide their identity. And the story of appearing to kill the demon? Among my classmates, there is a person who has reached the level of an archmage, and that person has secretly entered this academy to kill demons. There's a secret hidden in this academy. Luce let out a soft laugh. That's what he thought. But it was so absurd. What nonsense, I think. But what if it's real? There is nothing wrong with investigating. Brain creed. From the age of 10 when I signed a contract with Gaul. Luce has always closed her heart to others. But now, she was brimming with curiosity for others after a very long time. First, we should pay attention to the motives of using the element of ice. Luce wrote the decision with a quill on the parchment next to the book, uncovering the identity of the ground. Then, I smoothly underlined the sentence, noon in the sun. A cool breeze caressed my skin. Even today, having learned from Mateo, I sat with him under the shade of a tree and chatted. As expected, Mateo suggested that he try to be part of his gang. He took care of me for 3 days, pretended that he was moved by the fact that he bought me school education, and accepted the offer, giving off the impression that if it is you, I can follow it. Thankfully, it was true. Thanks to this, I was able to fill my stomach and focus on training without becoming a debtor, a nobleman of status. Dog or jug? My purpose is to take revenge on the nobles who ignore the commoners. I will become stronger here and raise the status of commoners. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mateo makes a promise that he has no interest in... I say, yes, right. He responded with words like that and pretended to be humbled, because he definitely needed to win Mateo's trust. It was as if I had become a new employee at the company who matched the rhythm of the manager. One day, we will create a world where the common people are not ignored. Especially if you were ignored for being an E-class commoner, you would understand it well. Ride on my will, Isaac. Ben, I get it. Don't take a ride. It is a false promise that will soon be shattered. We have to stop the bad ending, so we need to play for a while. I became part of the Mateo gang, besides me. There were 3 other members of the Mateo gang. 1 Class B, 2 Class C. All were from commoners. No, it has to be like this. As a member of the Mateo gang, I had to put my bangs up. I didn't have the impression that it suited my forehead very well. Anyway, Mateo, who was holding the school uniform jacket over his shoulder, led the way, and me and the 3 men rushed together. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going nonstop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huhue. Mateo, you are working hard to update the black history. Is it because they both pulled their bangs up and went? As we passed the orphan hall corridor, I felt the students' eyes turn toward us. Hey, it's E-class. E-class. You joined the Mateo gang to survive. He was last in the class evaluation. Unpack. No, he was just looking at me to make fun of me. Also Marching Academy. The toughness of the students is amazing. What did you say to my friend? Oh, no, nothing. This one is for that little chicken owl. Mateo quarreled. To let you know that I have been through a lot. Then I've been going nonstop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huhue. Mateo, who ranks at the top of the B class, is a recognized talent. Most students don't even dare to touch him. The Marching Academy has a common setting of less noble status as a place of learning. Of course, that's not to say there isn't. Still, it means that the status that skills bring is a force to be reckoned with. Child. God. Sniff. Even though I'm a small boy, I couldn't help but be moved by the guy's friendship he had. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, I was moved only by the act of taking my side. The current Mateo is a very poor person because he has a dull heart and is gluttonous. Ian Fairytale. At that time, a little guy other than me called out the main character's name. It was because Mateo was arguing with the students while Ian got in between them. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going nonstop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huahue. Mateo and Ian's eyes crossed. Silence. The air sank heavily. What else are you going to say to that bastard Mateo? Jackanapes. It's a classmate, but isn't it a bit unfair to call him brother? My friends, are you arguing with someone again? Mateo. Wow, this is the first time I've heard Ian's voice in this world. Edgy beauty. The voice of the protagonist. It was a very familiar voice that I had heard while playing the game countless times. When I almost said hello because I was so happy. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going nonstop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mateo drew closer to Ian and looked down at him terrifyingly. Ian Fairytale, the author's second son? Also, you are annoying. What if it bothers you? I will use it as a stepping stone for my goals, as an example of my enmity towards the nobility. You foolish bastard. This one is for that little chicken owl. Okay, good fight. The story is going well. According to the story of Magic Knight of Marchand, Ian and Mateo must have been involved once before and had gone to the brink of a fight. At the training ground, Mateo applied for a one-on-one match with a Class C student in the Faculty of Magic. The opponent is a discriminatory aristocrat who usually despises commoners. Mateo beats him very excitedly. At that time, Ian, the protagonist with a strong sense of justice, who was in the same training ground at the time, stopped seeing Mateo. The two have a war of nerves, and after a few words, Mateo must have pretended to be a favoritism and left. That's the story I know. This will be the second meeting between the two. Am I offended? Then let's stick together. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going nonstop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mateo stimulates Ian. I don't fight with you. You are not even worth fighting for. Living on weak topics. The war of nerves was short-lived. After a brief snowball fight, Mateo started walking again, ignoring Ian with his hands in his pockets. His subordinates, me and 3 boys, followed Mateo. They passed by sticking out their tongues or taunting Ian like a third-rate villain. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course I followed. Don't faint when fighting demon. Please. There's always a girl hanging out with Ian. Amy Holloway. It is the daughter of Count Holloway, somewhere in Josena Forest. The Mateo gang, including me, were gathering in a spacious abandoned warehouse and having a meeting for the third-class villain down operation. I kidnapped that woman. Am I kidnapped? Astonished servants. I deliberately pretended to be surprised. The strategy that Mateo uttered was still the same as the story. Act 2, Scene 2. The kidnapping of a childhood friend. Amy Holloway, Ian's childhood friend, is kidnapped by the Mateo gang. This is the moment when Ian and Mateo's gang fight in earnest. I'm not saying I'm going to do anything bad to Amy Holloway. They just kidnap them and lock them up somewhere. He's just a bait to bring Ian in. Brother, what do you mean? It is to awaken the aristocracy to the awareness that if we look down on us as commoners, we can be severely punished. After defeating all of Mateo's men, Ian will face off against Mateo one-on-one. Then, a demon appears. He woke up in response to Mateo's mana, who was on the strong side. The purpose is still Ian, who is a light attribute constitution. However, the demons attack the intruder Mateo first. At this point, the only person to protect Mateo is Ian. because all the subordinates passed out. Ian protects Mateo once, and the two form a temporary alliance and manage to defeat the demons. Mateo later apologizes to Ian, and the two become friends. By the way, it was kind of fun to see the Mateo gang planning a strategy for the first time. This is because the scenes of their operation meeting do not appear in the game. The first example is Ian Fairy Tale, the gnome. He doesn't try to force a fight, so I'm trying to create a reason to fight. I intend to bring despair to him, as expected. My brother, when I was playing the game, I had no idea that he was just a third-rate villain. From this point of view, Mateo was a real fool and even extreme. The subordinates were on the same level. They responded by saying that they would all obey Mateo's will, or that they would show the fear of our commoners. Here the two purposes for which I joined the Mateo gang are revealed. The first is dealing with demons. Second is, then kidnapping? I'll do it. Everyone's eyes turned to me. The second reason I joined the Mateo gang, to safely kidnap Amy Holloway, Ian's childhood friend and one of my favorite characters. Leave it to me. I want to help you too, Mateo. The Mateo gang is embarrassed because Ian is unexpectedly good at fighting. Contrary to his intentions, he treats Amy quite harshly. It was probably a story device to escalate conflict, but I didn't like it. Cook, cook, cook. Ha 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 ha. The Mateo gang couldn't understand why they were laughing like villains when they laughed, but somehow it was fun, so I jumped on the mood and laughed like a villain. Should I call it a sense of belonging? Well, it's a group that will be disbanded soon, so you should enjoy it to the fullest. We ate together, looked down on Mateo when he quarreled with someone, and gathered in an abandoned warehouse, a hideout, to share stories of common people's hardships and experiences of being ignored by the aristocrats. Cook, cook, cook. Ha 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 ha. It was fun. Tomorrow is the end. The operation date is tomorrow. For some reason, the number of Mateo gang increased by 2 more, but it was unknown. After all, they are all extras that will hit Ian, even on hell difficulty. It is only non-human races that rapidly become difficult. Humans have a fixed level on hard difficulty. Besides, Ian's level, which I happened to see earlier, was 45. The level of Mateo's men here is in the mid-40s. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the other hand, Ian has a comparative advantage in terms of physical ability and hand-to-hand combat. Among the same level, he is a thug. In other words, no matter how much Ian gets beaten up by demons, these extras can be easily defeated. As long as Ian protects Mateo once the situation ends, then I just have to step out and deal with the demon. Anyway, if there is no obstruction, life in the mansion of the Duke of Estrines was far from that of any other young girl. Gerald Estryon was awarded the title of Duke for his outstanding achievements in the War of Nice. He is considered one of the Sword Saints, and he married the genius wizard Historia and continued the Estrine family lineage, a girl with light green hair. The second child of a swordsman and a genius wizard? To her, the swordsman father was a thing to follow blindly. The Estrian's family. The weather. Kisung. When my father speaks through the loudspeaker, no matter how deep a dream he is, he must quickly get up and settle down. Merlin Astrians. The eldest daughter, Merlin Astrians. Kaya Astrian. Child girl, Kaya Astrine. When calling a name, second daughter must be added before the name. Conversation is polite. When you wake up, immediately gather in front of the mansion. Fires a powerful shout forward for 5 seconds. Wow, ah! Do a morning canter. House Astrians. Run. Yap. Go. When the sun has not yet fully revealed itself, it is basic to walk in the morning while breathing in the moist air. Did you not study and play with Arwen or not? I play. I am blessed. Roll left. Roll to the chair. Roll right. Go ahead and roll. Do 5 push-ups several times. 5 years. 5. Start. Hanat. Duel. I wondered if it was too much for a 6-year-old child to do that. Go to bed right now. Practice. No. I tried to recall the past, but these are only memories. This one is for that little chicken owl. Other than that, no contact between the opposite sexes, no snacks, no play, etc. Geraldman's educational philosophy that a child must be raised like a soldier in order to grow up straight has been holding up Kaya all along. Thanks to the benevolent mother, Historia's generous education policy, Kaya was able to catch her breath, and she was able to keep the elegant tone of aristocrats still. In front of his father, he had to keep his discipline tight. Is it because I have lived such a tense life? Kaya has developed a habit of paying close attention to the person she cares about. I had to look into my father's eyes, and now she only cares about one person. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Marching Academy, Magical Faculty Entrance Exam Deputy, Kaya Astrana. As a result of the placement evaluation, she was placed in the highest class, Class A. The joy of belonging to Class A was short-lived, and her mind was filled with Isaac. After a few days of deliberation, I decided to watch Isaac. This one is for that little chicken owl. One day, as soon as class was over, I immediately went looking for Isaac. In case you have any questions, you can refer to umtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not long after, I found him passing by. For some reason, he was running around with a gang of Mateo. It was a minority group that frequently came up and down and gossiped these days, seeing everyone wearing their bangs together. It was clear that Isaac belonged to that gang. Did I say that it was a group with a revolt against the aristocrats? I think I've heard of the nobles arguing with them, even if Mateo Giordana, the leader of that gang, was a talented student. It wouldn't be good for the nobles to hate him, somehow. It was like a group of mentally immature adolescent children. By the way, why is Isaac Sama in the Mateo gang? Meh. A strong man who has reached the level of an archmage? Isaac. Who must have a deep meaning that Kaya herself cannot fathom. Why does he belong to that kind of bullshit group? Kaya was curious and couldn't stand it. So I followed Isaac. He was completely influenced by the Mateo gang. Making clumsy laughter sounds like cute cook. Is Isaac smiling like a villain? Kaya, who was watching Isaac with only her head sticking out from behind the pillar, couldn't keep her mouth shut. This one is for that little chicken owl. Obviously, the strength of that Mateo gang cannot even reach Isaac's toes. It was self-evident that at the level of Isaac Nim, such a gang would look ridiculous. But why? Is there something in that Mateo gang? This one is for that little chicken owl. One conclusion came to mind. Isaac has a deep meaning that cannot be measured by himself. This one is for that little chicken owl. Otherwise, Isaac Sama would not be able to join such a frivolous group. Isaac was a curious man. Since I joined the Marching Academy, I need to focus on my studies and training. My mind was full of thoughts about the Fortress Isaac. What is the reason for such a strong man hiding his skills? What a spectacle of a past history that you can't even imagine. What is the relationship between him and the Fairy Sophia of Huarokchang? Things like these aren't answered by Isaac, so even if there's no way to find out yet, at least you can find out for yourself why he joined the third-class bully group. The only choice is to monitor intensively. But for some reason, the word stalking came to mind, but she shook her head, saying that it wasn't like that.